The following is a member of the Burke Reviews podcast family. BurkeReviews.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Burke Reviews Movie Club. I'm John Burke, and with me this week is Corey Starr.
Hello, hello.
And we are back again with our movie club strategy here. It's June was last month. This month is July. I have a headache, and clearly my brain is not functioning properly. How are you doing, Corey?
You know, I'm fine. I'm trying not to die of heat stroke.
Well, living in Florida, I have no sympathy for that statement, but nonetheless...
yesterday it was 105 degrees, sir.
Oh, what, did it feel like that, or that's what it said?
Yeah, no, it felt like 105, and there was a nauseating hot breeze, like you're standing in front of a blow dryer. So uncomfortable.
Well, this month of July, which is a hot month for everybody, we are doing coming-of-age stories, and this week we are going to be reviewing the film The Graduate. We'll get more into all the specifics of that film in a little bit, but before we get into our full review of the film, we will, one, give a spoiler warning before we get into spoilers of The Graduate, but two, we like to talk about what else we've been watching and kind of just catch up, because, you know, we're friends and we don't get to see each other ever. This is like the one day we generally talk. So, how you been this week, Corey?
You know, I've been okay. It seemed like a really long week. Even though we had 4th of July on Wednesday, and I had the day off of work.
Oh, look, I was about to ask what you did. So you were off work.
I did grown-up things. I started cleaning my blinds, which... it sounds so stupid, but oh my gosh. And then I went and saw a movie, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Oh, great. I didn't get to go to a movie on 4th of July, but I did watch one, and then we went to a concert, which I'll talk about now. We went to see, it was supposed to be Alien Ant Farm, Lit, and POD, and I guess some local bands were playing first, but the weather was real bad here on 4th of July. Like, it was thunderstorms all over the state, and so our friends were going with us, but they were meeting us there, and they got there about 2 o'clock. It was supposed to start about noon, and they were like, everything's been delayed. So we were like, okay, we're okay. So we ended up, it stopped raining here, so we started driving out there. It was raining when we got there, and the band still hadn't gone on stage because it was outside, and it was dangerous because it was lightning and stuff. So we ended up going to a mall, like that was like a few miles down the road, just for like a super little bit. Then we rushed back because we heard that Alien Ant Farm started playing. We missed them completely.
Dang it.
Well, I agree. I like some of their songs from back in the day.
We like the singles.
Yes, that's basically all I know, to be fair. But I heard they were kind of jerky on stage. Like, he was making like jerk-off motions and like blowjob motions. And I think he came out smoking a joint, which, yeah, I'm not necessarily against that, but like it was an all ages show. So there were a lot of little kids there. And he was just being, from what I hear from my friend, he was being kind of a jerk, and especially because he's like in his 40s, and he's acting like he's like 20. You know, like I'm cool with like some 20 punk band, you know, who is like everything's rock and roll and nothing serious. But at some point, like you got to have a little bit of maturity, right? Like I would think.
Not when you're in a rock band.
Well, Lit, we caught most of their set. I did find them a little boring. It could be the music too. It's some of their songs sound country, like their new stuff. To me. Now, I'm not a country fan, so I might be like way overstepping. Like a country person might be like, "No way, does that sound country?" But to me, it sounded very country. But their classics, the singles that everyone knows, they played them very well. The vocals were a little scratchy, but that could be they're on tour, so his voice might just be wearing down after a few weeks or whatever. But all of that was saved from POD. POD is a band I've been a huge fan of for a long time, and man, they killed it live. And it didn't hurt that there was a dude dressed up as Jesus, who goes around as Mosh Pit Jesus. He has a business card and everything that he hands people.
That's the best thing ever.
Yeah, he's got an Instagram account too. So if you're, I'm plugging Mosh Pit Jesus on our podcast, but
Okay, well, it was already great when I saw the photos, and then I read about it, you know, because I read your review, but that he has business cards just puts it on a whole other level.
Yeah, the front is like just the name and stuff, and then the back says like his services he provides, and one of them he turns water into whiskey, and a few other things. It's really funny. I think Kathy posted on her Instagram a picture of the business card with the picture of me and Taylor standing with Mosh Pit Jesus, but he got the pit got huge for POD. Like there was no pit for Lit, which I wouldn't expect there to be, but POD is a little heavier. They're more new metal than anything else, and I don't know if he got hit real hard or if it was just like because he's wearing a robe, like he's dressed up like Jesus. It's not a joke, and so I don't know if he got like heat stroke from like moshing with this robe thing on. But so he ends up sitting like in front of me, like catching his breath, and a few other people. Everyone loved him because he was dressed up as Jesus, I guess, and he was very nice, very friendly. And Sonny, the singer from POD, had noted him earlier and had made several jokes throughout the show about like, you know, I always look to Jesus for help, but I never expected him to show up in St. Pete, like things like that. And so he saw that Jesus went down and was like checking on him, like, is he okay? And he's looking right at me because I'm like the only person right next to him, like, is he all right? And I'm like giving Sonny the thumbs up to like let him know that yeah, Jesus is okay. Jesus is gonna rise again. You know, it was a cool experience to have. Definitely not how I was expecting to spend my 4th of July there, but what really sucked though is we had to park. We didn't have to park where we parked, but it was free. But it was like a good 3 blocks down the road, which is not a big deal. But I was concerned about the weather because I don't like to get stuck in the rain, and I'm a bad Floridian because I don't bring umbrellas. So POD ends, they get off stage, we walk out with our friends, they're leaving, we're going to go to our car, and we start to, Kathy decides she wants to wait and see if POD will walk out, because their buses are like right there, and that's when we took the picture with Mosh Pit Jesus, and while we're standing there waiting for POD to come out, the guy who's like the host starts getting the crowd to chant for an encore, and POD goes back on stage. Now, we're outside, but you could literally see them, like, you didn't have to buy a ticket, like, you could have stood on the outside and got a really great free concert. So we're standing on the outside of the gate now, watching them do the encore, and halfway through their second and last song, it starts to pour down, like, horrible rain, like, just torrential downpour, and I'm like, great, and Kathy's still standing there. I'm like, can we go to the truck? I'm just like, we're gonna be soaked, and we had one umbrella, so her and Taylor were using the umbrella, and I was just speed walking, almost got hit by a car, and then Kathy snapped at the person in the car. Like, I've not seen her get that mad that fast, and like actually like she shouted, and I saw them coming. My grandfather trained me to always watch for like stupid people driving, and so I saw them coming from a mile away, and they almost hit me if I had kept walking, but I saw them and stopped, knowing they weren't gonna see me. They did see me, mind you. They did stop, but they did have to like slam on their brakes, kind of thing. Again, it wasn't in direct line of me, but if I had kept walking, I would have been in potential danger, so to speak. But Kathy yelled at them, and I'm like, come on. And so we finished crossing the road. We were in the crosswalk too, like we weren't jaywalking or anything. We were following protocol, but it's a roundabout, and you know those roundabouts get kind of confusing, especially over here in the States. We don't have many of them. Doing. Yeah, we don't have many of them, and so the people who don't seem to know how to use them act like idiots. But I
think the real problem is that no one knows what the F right away is.
Yes.
It's not all you all the time.
Right, and then they rolled their window down, and I think they said something to Kathy.
They don't even know.
Well, it was raining really hard, but I did yell at them back because I wasn't gonna say anything, but when you start talking trash to my wife, especially when you were wrong, I'm definitely not gonna stand by. So I said something, but they drove off, and we got in the truck. I was soaked, unhappy that I was wet, but had a good time at the concert. We didn't get to see fireworks in the traditional sense. Like, we saw them in several different cities as we drove home, which was kind of cool because I think we saw fireworks in like 6 or 7 different cities on the way home, so kind of was cool enough. But we did see a really awesome show with POD for sure.
Nice.
Especially because it was only $5. Like, it was a show. If I paid $30-$40, I'd have been happy with POD's performance. But the fact that I paid $5 just makes it all the more memorable. It's like, wow, what a show they put on. And I wish I had recorded Sonny talking kind of trash about the venue in a really very tactful way. Just it kind of shows again why he's so his lyrics have so much meaning, because he's not a dumb guy. He's a very intelligent man who knows what he's talking about, and his points were completely valid without directly saying this venue's garbage. But he basically was just like, if you want to have shows like this, it's great, but you got to make sure that the sound's right, because if the sound's wrong, the bands won't come, and if the bands won't come, the fans won't come, and then you make no money. Like, essentially his point, but he's articulated it way better. But enough of that, I guess. Let's get into movies, and since you saw one on 4th of July, we'll start with you. What did you see this week, Corey?
Okay, well, first we're going to back up to Saturday night, because we have game nights once a month, me and my friends.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I always hang out with people that are really smart. I don't know how that happens. But anyway, we were playing this cool board game that took me the whole game to figure out, called Pandemic.
Okay.
And pretty much you are part of the CDC, and you're trying to stop outbreaks from happening everywhere and taking over. So of course I had to come home at midnight and watch 28 Days Later. Duh. And then on 4th of July, okay, I'm sure that you read, everyone in the free world has read what has happened in Boise recently about a man attacking a refugee family during a birthday party. I'm surprised you haven't read this. It's national news.
I think I have. It's just my brain is not 100% at the moment. So
in Boise. And I can't remember. I believe that he stabbed 6 people, including the 3-year-old birthday girl. And so my friends work at the other hospital in town, or my friend does, and then my friend's mom does as well, I think, as a nurse. But they were talking about it as it was happening, kind of. So everyone at the time was alive and whatever. But the next day, on Sunday, the 3-year-old passed away.
Oh, man.
I've been having a hard time. Like, I haven't even really talked about it because you just can't. I don't know. And we're white and we're potatoes. This is Idaho. But we actually have a very big refugee community, and I was having a hard time dealing with it, and I still am. But I went to see Won't You Be My Neighbor on July 4th, and it really helped.
It does show the possibilities of optimism in the world. That movie is so impressive.
You have the unfortunate whatever of being my Facebook friend. So every time that anything bad happens, I always think of his quote, like what his mom said, always look for the helpers. And I don't know. And then they said that in the movie too. I don't know. But it's such a great movie. I think that everyone should go watch it. I want to look up the PSAs that he did for September 11th. I don't remember those.
Me too. I don't either. And then I'm sure I was in college, I probably would have shrugged it off as like, oh, stupid Mr. Rogers, because I was, a little bit negative and pessimistic as a college student, a little cynical. I mean, I still am some of those things, but I feel like to a much lesser extent than when I was in college and thought I knew everything. I think I would kick college me in the nuts if I were hanging out with him. Like, that's the truth.
Oh, there was a time, everybody, we were not friends.
Yes,
we were not friends. But it's so funny because, like, I took that interpersonal communications class, and, like, adults can't talk to adults about things, and just, like, hearing the way that he was talking to children about things.
Yeah.
And I wish that someone could talk to me about those same things, even as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, when he talked about, like, divorce, and then he talked about the war, Vietnam War is the episodes they show. But then even when he sat with the mailman character on the show and put each other's feet, they didn't put each other, it sounds so wrong. They put their feet in the same pool during the Civil Rights Movement as if to say, like, this is okay, it's not different. Like, I was, that movie, I think I cried, like, the entire freaking time.
I cried the whole time. And it was everything to not sob, because holy hell. But I'm going to challenge anyone that enjoyed the movie, including you. There are StoryCorps, which is one of my favorite Facebooks ever. There is an interview with, why am I blanking out on his name? The police officer.
Mr. McFeely?
No, the police officer. It starts with a C. Well, there is an interview on StoryCorps that talks about how he came to be on the show and like that scene more in depth. And it just like every time I listen to it, because I've listened to it multiple times, I cry.
Yeah.
And also there's more footage of when he went up to speak with the senator about that funding for PBS.
Yes.
And I just every time guys, I just cry a
Well,
lot.
I was at we were at TGI Fridays. They're not a sponsor. When you text me that you saw it, with my wife and daughter eating a very, very late dinner, and I mentioned it to them that you saw the movie, and I showed them the picture on your Snapchat of you crying for an hour and a half. And Taylor really wants to see it, and I was like, well, I think we might have missed it in theaters, but I'm definitely gonna buy this movie because this is something I'll teach this film for the rest of the time that I teach film. Like, it'll be a documentary that I show every year, once I can, once it's available to me. And but I went looking in the Enzian, which is the local art house theater in Orlando that puts on the Florida Film Festival. I call it a hipster Mugs and Movies because they're like Mugs and Movies, just a little bit fancier. Like, they'll have, Mugs and Movies used to have like a hamburger, where Enzian will have a hamburger with goat cheese. Like, it's that next level stuff. And they have it this week, still there. So I'm hoping to get to take her to go see it.
Started screening at my theater like 2 or so weeks ago when they did like the wide release.
Well, I know 8th grade gets a wider release this coming Friday, so I'm expecting the Enzian to probably get that. And I don't know if 8th grade's going to get to hear or not. And then I get to go see Sorry to Bother You at a critic screening on Wednesday, which is the Lakeith Stanfield film that did really well at Sundance and had a good showing at South by, which I missed. I was very unhappy that I missed it at South by. And then, so I get to see that at a critic screening, which that's officially out right now, but it's only in select markets. And then Blind Spotting is coming out this month too, which I saw at South by Southwest, and is currently, little inside information if you listen to Top 5 movies, but it is currently my #1 movie of the year. I was so blown away by Blind Spotting. I can't wait. I'm hoping it comes close so I can see it again, because I loved it so much. I also loved 8th grade, though. I don't want to downplay that. That's in my top 5 right now, too. But, there's a chance Won't You Be My Neighbor might be in my top 5, which will be the first time a documentary is in my top 5 movies.
It doesn't... I don't know. Like, sometimes it's really hard to get totally into a documentary for me, but yes. I just the whole time. Yeah. And he's a badass and a trailblazer, and I was just thinking about all these things that we don't equate Mr. Rogers with, or like see him as, and he totally is. But and then we started watching Jurassic Park. But then that was that's my favorite. On Netflix.
Oh, I didn't realize they put the first one on there too, but that's my one in my top 5 movies of all time. I love Jurassic Park. Well, I saw a bunch this week. I actually saw 10 movies since we last recorded. I've been doubling up. I actually watched 3 movies today. Last Sunday, Jaws was screening at our Epic Theater in Claremont, because they do like the retro screenings on Sundays, and so we went and saw Jaws, which I love. Is one of my favorite films too. It's in my top 50. I watched While We're Young, the Noah Baumbach film with Ben Stiller, Naomi Watts, Adam Driver, and Amanda Seyfried. I liked it. I don't think it's his best. It's not his. I wouldn't say he has a worst per se, but I have ones that didn't click with me. This one's in the middle. Parts of it really clicked with me, and then parts of it did not. I watched Uncle Drew, the basketball movie with Lil Rel Howery, Tiffany Haddish, Kyrie Irving, Shaquille O'Neal, a bunch of other former basketball players. For the most part, it's funny. It's really entertaining. I had a good time. It was actually, it's not the best movie per se, but it was very entertaining. A very good, enjoyable summer movie. I had a pretty large crowd. I went on Monday night at like 9 o'clock, and it was a packed house. I was really surprised. And I ended up I went to one of the theaters that have assigned seats. And when I got there, there was already, like, all the middle seats were gone. Like, so I picked, like, an aisle seat, middle of the section, but, like, on the aisle. And I figured I was good because there were people in the middle, and I was, like, 4 or 5 seats away from them. Sure enough, people end up sitting right next to me, which I don't generally like, especially if I don't know them.
Unless you're my people.
Yeah, but it turned out the crowd was great. We all laughed. We had a good time, and the movie it's not subtle with its messages, but it's really optimistic. Like there's like a positive message to take away from the movie, and I like that. You know, a lot of movies are so like, and I like a nihilistic or a negative film or cynical film, but sometimes I need something upbeat. And for a comedy, I generally, I don't know, I like dark comedies. I'm kind of eclectic with stuff, but this particular one, it made me feel good watching it. So I praise Uncle Drew. If you're into that kind of thing, definitely check it out. I saw Scarface for the first time.
Finally! Hi.
Mike and I we went to Tijuana Flats for dinner, came back to my place, and we watched Scarface. And there's some parts in that movie that are kind of ridiculous. Like there is an 80s montage, like legit 80s style, like the music, like up over optimistic with them, like him kind of taking over and like the banks, like him establishing his empire. And I was cracking up at the montage. And there was another sequence with these push-in close-ups that were like way over dramatic, and I was like, oh my god, come on, De Palma, chill out. But I still enjoyed the movie. It's a little long. It's almost 3 hours, and I was like, ugh. But overall, enjoyed it. I don't see why people love it as much.
I think that it's kind of one of those movies, like how when we go back and we do these movie club movies and we're like, oh god, everybody loves this. And then it wasn't at the time, and it just isn't, we're not there with it.
Maybe,
that makes
but
sense.
Like kids love it. Like there's always those kids who like idolize him as like this iconic
I don't idolize
figure.
him.
No, and I'm not even talking, like, it's not the movie. People just, like, they're like, Scarface, and I'm just like...
There are some... I enjoy the movie, but I grew up with the movie. Thanks, Mom and Dad. You know,
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, though. You know, I did
no,
like
I'm
it,
not taking it that way.
Yeah.
I feel like it might just be one of those, like, you grew up on it. And all the cocaine, man.
Yeah. Nothing about his character. Oh yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer. At the end, she looks so skinny. Like she looks sick. I saw two Michelle Pfeiffer movies this week, though. I'll get to that momentarily.
Okay.
I watched a film called Toast. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay, it's about a British like celebrity chef, food writer, named Nigel Slater. I'd never heard of it, but what caught my eye was Freddie Highmore, who is in Bates Motel, and he was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and August Rush. I've always kind of liked him, and Helena Bonham Carter, who I'm a big fan of.
Me.
Oh, okay. I tend to like her quite a bit, and I had it up on Amazon Prime. It was like we were just flipping through the movies, and it was there. And Kathy's like, let's watch that. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yes. I'm like, all right, I guess so. You know how she picks things kind of haphazardly.
It's
It's good. It's an entertaining movie. It's not an amazing film. There are things that I really like. There are things that whatever. But overall enjoyable. Called Toast. I watched Mission Impossible 3 for the first time, kind of getting ready for Fallout coming out. I've seen all of them but 3. For some reason, I skipped 3, and that's J.J. Abrams' first feature film. And it also is what turns the franchise back, because number 2's off the charts ridiculous. Heavily MTV inspired. Limp Bizkit did the version of the song for that movie. It's bad. And so 3 was a course correction, and it has been only getting better ever since. Mission Impossible 3 also has Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain. And he's fantastic, and it's the one that Simon Pegg shows up in for the first time, although a very small role. And I really, really enjoyed it, though. I had a lot of fun with that. And then I watched that yesterday afternoon, and then my wife and daughter and I went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is the second Michelle Pfeiffer movie that I just
Is
teased.
it?
Yes.
Better than the trailers are leading us to believe.
Okay, did you see Ant-Man?
I loved the first. Well, I liked the first one a lot. Mostly, I mean, come on, it's Paul Rudd.
Exactly. This is a hilarious movie. This is almost a true comedy. Especially Paul Rudd and Michael Pena. They are brilliant. I had no issues with the trailer, but it's structured way better than the trailer makes it look like it's going to be structured.
Doesn't make me want to watch the movie at all. In fact, it makes me want to not see the movie. Yeah, well, both of the trailers I saw.
It's super funny. It's a great time. I actually, because I love comedy so much, and because I'm a huge Paul Rudd and Michael Pena fan, I like this movie more than a lot of the Marvel movies. I feel wrong saying it's better than some that are clearly more serious, but man, I had a great time with this movie. I was laughing a lot, and Paul Rudd gets me, his humor, the way he delivers dialogue. There's a part, I won't say exactly what happens, but he gets zapped unconscious and he's eating cereal, and the way he falls is so funny. Like, it's if you like Paul Rudd, and I know you do, Corey, it's fantastic.
It's because he's so damn charming.
He is.
And he doesn't age, and I just really think he's a Scientologist.
But there's some really, really great jokes in this. And then if you saw the first film, you saw Michael Douglas in the... that's right? It's Michael Douglas?
I'm pretty sure.
And you see him... I feel like that's wrong. But... No, I'm right. I always confuse him with Martin Sheen. Michael Douglas... They did the de-aging in the first film. There's that scene where you see him as like a young Michael Douglas, and they've gotten better. They did it with Robert Downey Jr. in I think in Civil War, and they've done it a couple times now where they just they did it with Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You see young Kurt Russell, and the technology is getting ridiculous. Where like I'm afraid we're gonna start having like dead actors showing up in movies again.
Oh,
like
geez.
Technically that happened in Rogue One, but I think it'll get worse. And but needless to say, there's a scene with Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas as the young versions of them, and Michelle Pfeiffer looks like she did in Scarface. It was crazy, like and it looks real. Like that's the thing; it doesn't look like a computer version of it. You're just like, oh my god, how are you doing this? This is scary. But that was last night. I had a blast. My review is up at burkreviews.com already. But I watched 3 movies today, Corey. So I went to the bathroom. I came out of the bathroom, and Kathy was watching Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And
Kathy was watching on her own.
Yeah, I bought it on Vudu, so it shows up everywhere, and she just started it I don't know why. It's one of the first things on the list because I just bought it. But I'm like, I walk in, I'm like, what are you watching? And she's like, some weird movie. I was like, was it Hedwig? She's like, yeah. I'm like, wait, I want to watch this. She's like, is this your movie? I'm like, no, I was going to go watch The Graduate now so I could be done with it. And she's like, well, I already started this. Let's watch it. I'm like, okay, I've been wanting to, so why not? I love Hedwig and the Angry Inch so freaking much.
I'm so glad because I love that movie. So usually for movie club, one of us has to have not seen the movie that we're going to be watching, and I was trying to peer pressure John into watching Hedwig as one of his picks.
I had it picked between this and Tangerine, and I went with Tangerine because of the Sean Baker connection, and neither of us had seen it. Also, Hedwig's not easy to get. The only reason why I ended up buying it went on sale for $5 like the last day of June.
How much is it usually?
Like 10 or 13, I think. Digital. It looks like it's out of print for Blu-ray and DVD. I
didn't even know it was on Blu-ray. I've tried to find it on Blu-ray.
It may not be. I'm sorry. I was just assuming it's out of print for both.
Okay.
So calm yourself. But
I bought it for pretty cheap, I think, on eBay.
But, so I wasn't sure how easy it would have been to get before, but I'm glad, I bought it as soon as I saw it was on sale. Been meaning to watch it. There were so many things about this movie I loved, and the music's fantastic. And I ended up getting so into it, I started reading about like how it came to be. I actually watched the director. He's only done a few other films, but he's the director and he plays Hedwig, John Cameron Mitchell. I just watched his new film, How to Talk to Girls at Parties, which stars Elle Fanning.
I did not realize that was him.
Yeah. And I like that movie. I love Hedwig, though. Hedwig is just... It might be in my top 25 movies. Like, I haven't decided where to put it yet. I'm definitely going to rewatch it, but it floored me. Some of the visuals, like, it's so cinematic. There's so many funny jokes, and the way he writes and delivers dialogue... there's a part where he's sitting on like the throne of tires, like talking to like other people. To me, it felt like a very Queen type moment where she's like elevated and looking down on her subjects and telling them a story of her times past, which we will then flash back into. But the way she words things, and I'm saying it's not an actual transgender person, to my understanding.
Well,
the character tried to be, but I don't think it's autobiographical. It's the character that he wrote. From my understanding, because this is a very successful Broadway musical. Neil Patrick Harris, I believe, was the most recent person to play Hedwig. In fact, performed at the Tonys Award. You can find that on YouTube. His performance of Sugar Daddy at the Tonys. And I am a big fan of Neil Patrick Harris. So I was excited when I saw that too. But yeah, I loved it. I've been telling everyone who will listen to me about this movie because I'm just like, I barely had heard of this. And I don't understand how it's not something that more and more people... And it has like an 88 on Metacritic. So, I mean, it's like highly critically acclaimed, but just one that had missed forever, and it's fantastic. And the music is great. There's some really good songs in it. The last song made me cry. Like, I had tears in my eyes. Like, I don't even know why. It just did. Like, I think just the acceptance and, like, the whole... I don't want to spoil the movie, but just the song, I had tears in my eyes. It was like, oh my god, this movie... Just great.
Yep, I thought so. Michael C. Hall has also played Hedwig.
Wow.
Yeah. So I also love this movie, and I think that you should also check out Breakfast on Pluto.
I shall. Is that him too?
That has oh my god, Cillian Murphy.
Ooh.
And I'm forgetting who plays his dad in it, but he's a priest, and they let me look because it's gonna drive me crazy. But anyways, he lives on this he lives, I believe, in Ireland, and that's just not okay back then. He's a transvestite, and I don't know. I think it's really good.
Well, the last thing I saw, I watched The Graduate after I watched Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and then I had time, and there was an early showing, so I went and saw The First Purge at 6:50 tonight, and just got home about 20 minutes before we were supposed to record, and there was a moment in The First Purge. Editor for BurkeReviews.com, David, came with me. He had some issues with his MoviePass though. MoviePass, you gotta be careful. I had 5 people who were trying to go see this movie who could not get the movies to load to pick their movie.
I meant to send you the article, but what the F are they doing about the movie surge pricing?
Oh, it's ridiculous. If you're not if you didn't subscribe for the year back a few months ago, they are gonna, I guess, charge you an additional amount of money for certain things. Like if a movie
anywhere from $2 to $6.
Wow, I didn't know it was that much either. But yeah, a little lightning bolt will show up on the movie time if it is considered a surged ticket sale. So if you live in an area where there's not like a lot of ticket demand, you should be okay from the way they're saying it, but like if you live in New York City or LA where movies sell out frequently, you're going to get these surge prices, and it's going to make people not like MoviePass. If you live near an AMC, I think switching to the AMC pass is a better deal. It's $20 a month, but you get to go to 3 movies a week, and you can go to any movie, including IMAX. And I believe, I have not read this because I don't have an AMC near me, so I'm not worried about it, but I believe that those tickets add up. So like if you don't see 3 movies in week 1, those tickets carry over to the next week. So you have 6 movies you could go see, and you can see them in the same day. You're not limited to 1 a day. You can go see 3 movies on a Saturday if that's when you can go to the movies. Like, which I like that too, because I like to double dip sometimes. Like I'll go and then see like a mid show and then a late show or something. But if I had an AMC and MoviePass started the surge pricing, I would totally be leaning towards the AMC. Because again, you can go to IMAX too. So if you have an AMC with a kick butt IMAX theater, $20 a month, you can go see 3 IMAX movies a week. You know, not that it'd be the same movie 3 times, but still, you know, you could. And you also get, I think that their pass includes their Stubs membership, which gets you discounts on their popcorn and stuff. So if other chains start doing that, like if Regal starts doing that, I'll switch to Regal in a heartbeat because
so fast. It's
right here, and I love Regal anyways. So but there was a part, though, where David and I started laughing at the movie. And I don't think it wanted us to. It goes so action movie at one point where, like, a character is brandishing 2 assault rifles. And he kills one bad guy and then flamboyantly points the gun backwards without looking behind him and shoots the other guy. And poses afterwards. Like, he, like, holds the pose. And then another guy is, like, straight up dual wielding, like, shoots to the left with one assault rifle and then to the right with the other. It was nuts. Off the charts nuts action. And I'm just like, what? Am I watching Fast and the Furious? What's going on? really went too far, I think, with the action movie element of it. It resembles Die Hard in some ways, not in the good ways. Just like it's a dude in a tank top with a bag of guns, against like a militia in a building. So in that way, it resembles Die Hard. But yeah, it's not bad. It's not like Truth or Dare where it's just ugh, but it's definitely not good. And the messages that it blatantly has always, the Purge movies have never been subtle with their political commentary, but I would say this one goes even more obvious, and I think I still agree with a lot of what it's saying, and the metaphor of the Purge it's scarier right now than it was ever in the past, and because this is the first Purge, it's much closer to our time, and there's some very blatant references to right now in this film. But yeah, I still think Anarchy is the best of the Purge films. I think it's the one that uses the premise the best, and it has the best characters. Even though it does feel very much like The Punisher in a lot of ways, and that's probably why I like the second one. I didn't hate Election Year. The first one, I just felt like they had such a cool premise, and they locked it in a house, and that kid creeped me out a lot. This one, I would say, isn't even scary at all. Like, it feels much more like a action drama. There's some good performances. It's not like it's not a horrible movie. I've seen way worse horror films this year, but Winchester and Truth or Dare, right there. First Purge is definitely better than either one of those, but not great, or even it wasn't super fun either. And there's at least 2 scenes in the movie where you can tell they cut something out, and there's like continuity errors, like really bad. Like there's 3 characters looking out a broken window, and you're just like, why is that window broken? There's no explanation as to why this particular window is broken. And they also notice something in that same apartment, and they're like, hey, what's that? And they just kind of like, they say something that sounds like it just like a red herring type of thing, and then it's not. There's a lot of little gaps in the story that you feel like they probably got cut out for time or something, but yeah, not something I recommend rushing out for. I do recommend seeing Ant-Man versus I keep saying Ant-Man versus the Wasp. Apparently I just want them to fight Ant-Man and the Wasp. Highly recommend that. But sorry I went on a little long with that. I saw a lot of movies this week, as I said, and some of them, again, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, have been like fairly life-changing for me. So I'm
so glad that you loved it.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad I made that purchase. Probably one of the best things I've bought recently, for $5 on Vudu, and it's a Movie Anywhere movie, so it's on everything. We're gonna be talking about The Graduate. This movie's from 1967. It's listed as a comedy, drama, and a romance. I find it interesting to call it a comedy. I mean, there's definitely some humor in it, but I wouldn't
even a romance.
There's a romance there. But
we can talk about that.
Okay. Dustin Hoffman, Anne Bancroft, Catherine Ross, William Daniels, which I want to point out, William Daniels, I've saw this movie twice now, and I didn't realize until the scene in the film when he's laying on the raft in the pool, and his dad and his mom are like looking down at him, and it's kind of a cool shot. They're giving him crap about like, just, why are you in the pool? And I realized who the dad was. Do you know what TV show the dad was in?
No.
He played Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World. Yeah. I was so excited because I heard his voice, and it was like, that sounds like Mr. Feeney. And I started digging, and sure enough, William Daniels is the actor who plays Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World. And once I realized it, I could see it, but I did not notice it because he looks very different. He's much younger than when we would watch him in the 90s. Now, Mr. Robinson, do you know who that actor is? Murray Hamilton. He's in a movie, plays a major character that I saw this week, aside from The Graduate. He is the mayor of Sharktown, if you will, or the mayor of Amityville in Jaws.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a very long time.
Well, I saw it this past Sunday, and it is one of my favorite films, and I love his character because he is the villain in Jaws, because he's the one who insists that the beach be kept open, and that despite the shark attacks, he encourages people to get in the water. And he is, in my eyes, I mean, the real villain's the shark, but the human villain is definitely Murray Hamilton. He is greedy, and his greed is the reason that people are being punished. And so you have this Dustin Hoffman, very young Dustin Hoffman, directed by Mike Nichols. It's interesting because the movie has a 77 Metascore, but I was reading some reviews about it, and I don't know if it was Ebert or if someone from the Roger Ebert site wrote a review where they basically said this movie is of its time, and while it's still, you can appreciate the film work in this movie is amazing. There's some of my favorite shots in cinema show up in this movie because they're so creative with the framing of the camera, the isolation of the character, and yet the content and the subject matter does not hold up perfectly. And I'm getting the vibe that you did not love this movie, Corey.
It was a little disappointing because I've wanted to see this movie for such a long time. Like, I've just wanted to see it, and I just never got around to it, and maybe I hyped it up to myself too much, but I don't think it was a bad movie, but it wasn't as good as I hoped it'd be.
Well, it would be hard to argue this is a bad movie. I mean, it's a very well-made film. I liked it the first time I saw it. I think I liked it a little more the second time, and I do think that's I think the movie, I needed someone to kind of guide me of what I'm supposed to read from certain parts of it. I don't always get, I feel like I'm usually good at reading like human emotion, but I didn't relate to what the character was going through, and I find that weird. I did more this time, but. And maybe, I don't know, I'm confused, but I'm confused with myself. I don't know what kept me from, like, making the connections in the first viewing. But Dustin Hoffman's character plays Ben Braddock, and he's just graduated college, hence the name, The Graduate. And he is in a funk. He doesn't know what to do next. He's getting pressure to go to grad school, but he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't know what he wants to do at all, it seems like. And he generally seems like he hates everything. Would you say that's a fair read?
I don't feel like he hates everything. I just think he's disinterested.
Well, okay, he doesn't use the word hate. He does use the word, he tells, I'm going to forget her name, Elaine. He tells Elaine, and this is, I don't think this is a spoiler, even though this is later in the film. He tells Elaine, "You're the first thing that I've liked, or been able to like." And I feel like that's the same as saying I hate everything. Granted, it's not verbatim the same, but I feel like that's the message that you can take from that. Like, if you're the first thing I've liked, that means I dislike everything else. And it could mean simply indifference. But in my head, using the word, you're the first thing I've been able to like, the first person I've liked. So he and you see that, like, from the opening sequence, and of course the very, very famous and yet hauntingly dark and eerie Simon and Garfunkel music.
What was it about movies in the 70s that they did that? Because we just watched The Last Unicorn. Oh, this was in 67, so never mind. Mm-hmm. But maybe around that time, like The Last Unicorn, Everything Was by America. Wasn't that the name of the band?
It was, and that's funny.
Not a good band.
No, Hedwig and the Angry Inch mentioned that band. There's a funny sequence where when she meets, was it Tommy? Michael Pitt's character in the movie, where he plays Boston, Kentucky, I think Europe, America, and something else. And I think I missed the joke because the delivery is so spot on. But I think he said, "I'm tired of traveling." Like in terms of, like, I don't want to listen to any more music because everywhere we're going is like a different. I don't know. Sorry, you just triggered that because I didn't realize the band America until you said it now that it was from that other movie we just watched. But
and I love Harold and Maude, but I'm pretty sure that it's all the same band.
Yeah,
it's not a band. It's Cat Stevens, I think?
Yes, correct. It is Cat Stevens.
Yeah, so just very strange.
And, yeah, I don't know. And honestly, though, stylistically, I would say Maude and Graduate have some things in common. Maybe not stylistically, maybe tonally. But he, from the opening sequence, you have not Sound of Silence. I can't think of what starts on the opening the title credits where you see him on like the conveyor belt at the airport. Coming home, he looks so stoic, so disinterested, and that's kind of the thing, because Dustin Hoffman is such a great actor, and he's acting so minimally and yet a lot in this film, because he is being so, you know, somber, and so much of this film is him in a close-up centered on the screen to emphasize the loneliness and isolation he's feeling throughout the movie. And I mean, there's some amazing iconic shots, the framing of through Miss Robinson's leg, where you can see him but like her leg's bent and she frames him in the center, and he says, you know, you're trying to seduce me. And then the rapid cuts that are very reminiscent of Psycho, the shower sequence, but it's him looking at her naked for the first time, Mrs. Robinson, and like the way they cut back and forth, and you get like just flashes of nudity, like those. That's you know, very stylistic. Before he takes her home, none of this is spoilers, because this is in the first 20 minutes of the movie that I'm talking about. When she asks him to take her home, though, she throws the keys in the fish tank, and then we have the shot of him fishing them out, like through the fish tank, which they had just used that shot when he was sitting in the room. I mean, there's just so many awesome camera shots in this film. Even the opening shot where it's him on a white background, and you're like, where is he? And it pulls back to show the airplane that he's sitting in the seat, and it was just such a tight shot. And again, he's surrounded by people, yet he's alone. Like, that's the constant kind of theme. Like, he doesn't connect with anybody, he doesn't know what he wants to do. And I think that's where the romance comes in, is he meets Elaine, and that changes completely. It's no longer I am alone, I found the person I want to be with. And it's the only thing that he looks happy about, you know, throughout the film. It's the one thing, because he has this affair with Miss Robinson. I mean, I don't feel like it's a spoiler, because I feel like that's the premise of the movie, right? Like, the movie is that this young kid trying to figure out what he wants to do ends up finding himself in an affair with an older woman. Mm-hmm. I think there are twists from that point, which maybe get into spoilers, but I found the second viewing to be more enjoyable than my first. You seem kind of on the fence about it. Anything you want to say before we get into spoilers?
No.
And then lead us in, Corey.
Okay, guys. You can go check out The Graduate. It is streaming somewhere.
Amazon Prime.
Boom. There you go. Go check out The Graduate, and then come back and give us a listen. Otherwise, full steam ahead. Spoilers.
Which, I guess, it should be noted, Amazon has dropped Amazon in front of Prime. So, like, all their Prime stuff is just, like, Prime Instant, Prime Delivery, that kind of thing. They've been, like, doing it
it's
gradually.
Branded.
But it's its own thing. So, it's not on Amazon Prime. It's on Prime Instant. You can watch The Graduate for free if you're a Prime member, whether you're a monthly subscriber or annual subscriber. And, of course, it is on Criterion, which is half off right now. So, if you're in a place where they have... Or if you order it online, or you can get it from like Barnes & Noble. But that said, spoilers. Corey, let's go. It sounds like you have a lot you want to say about this movie. Get into it.
I don't really feel like I have a lot. I can be pretty so I forget the exact quote, but isn't it "Don't poop where you eat"? Like, isn't that like? Yeah. Why would you? Except not with poop. Trying to cuss a little less. But why would you? I mean, I don't know. The whole premise is just weird. She like has him take her home from his graduation party, and then, you know, bring me inside. I'm afraid it's dark, and then walk me back to the sunroom, and blah 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 blah. And oh, my husband won't be home for a long time. Well, I'm glad they didn't get into anything crazy, because it was not a long time. No. And like, I don't know, like it. I mean, the whole premise, I think, is supposed to make us uncomfortable. She's sleeping with someone that's her daughter's age. Mm-hmm. I don't care that she's in an unhappy marriage. Then get out of your marriage. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't really feel like he loved Elaine either. I actually thought he was creepy and a stalker, and he was just obsessive.
Oh, he totally was. Nothing about what he does makes logical sense, but...
Why would you go to the city she goes to school get into a boarding house and then watch her. And then why would you think it would be a good thing to be in a relationship with that person? I'm sorry.
Why would she or why would he?
Why would she?
Oh, well, I think that's what the ending of the movie is supposed to let you ponder, right? Which you did notice the parallel from Wayne's World 2, I assume.
Okay, so let's be real for a minute. I forget what day I watched this movie on. I think maybe Tuesday, because I was supposed to go to the movies on Wednesday and I just had a full week. And I totally forgot. And I was like, this looks really familiar. And it took me a minute. I was like, dang it, John told me. I was like, stupid girl. But I like in Wayne's World where it's a little more like, oh no, this is the wrong church. And then he runs to the other one.
Well, yeah,
they make it like
satirical.
such a big thing that it's, I don't know.
They're mocking it in a lot of ways. And the priest says, son of a... Because there's that moment in The Graduate where they show like everybody mouthing like, son of a bitch. And they like show the different people mouthing it. In Wayne's World, the priest even says it, and it cracks me up. And of course, you have Christopher Walken as the potential husband there too. So the Wayne's World 2 is funnier, and also like more silly because like when the fight breaks out, it's like Mrs. Robinson slapping the crap out of her daughter in that sequence. And I'm just like, oh my god, like what? Why are you hitting Elaine like that? Like, Miss Robinson's completely jealous.
I get that that's the only reason she did not want him to be with her daughter.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like, she lies and says he raped her, which...
That pissed me off.
Oh, so much. So much. Especially, that's, I think, another reason why...
Her.
What's that?
And her daughter believed her at first.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we want that, right? We want victims to be believed. But the concern is that a person will use it to hurt somebody, and it not be true, and that's the fear, and that's why I think this movie maybe doesn't hold up anymore, right? Because we're looking at a time where we are trying to get victims to stop being afraid to come out, and that we will believe you, and that we will take you at your word. And here's an example of that being used against it, which is completely counter to what we are trying to, put out there.
Well, the whole, thing where it comes up where he goes to pick Elaine up for their second date, and that's how it all comes to light, and he tells her before her mom can tell her, and then all of a sudden her mother's had time to concoct a story, and I don't know, I don't know. I'm not saying we shouldn't believe people, I just feel like there should be
but
dialogue.
That is the concern, and he doesn't even really tell her. She puts the way cinematically Mike Nichols does that sequence is so great because it has her. We see the mother look through the crack of the door. Elaine looks back. The focus racks so that she is now in focus. She comes back to him. It slowly comes into her in focus. And as that happens, we realize she's realizing who the woman was that he had an affair with, and she freaks out accordingly. Now, then the mom twists it, as you said, and says that he raped her, and that's where it gets really messed up and dark. And but he's a person who's completely lost, has nothing, meets Elaine, and she's the one beacon of light in his otherwise dark world, and that's why he becomes obsessed with it. Now, I don't think the movie's saying that it's okay, and I don't think the movie says it's okay for Elaine to go with him. In fact, that last shot, them on the bus, they're smiling, they're excited, and they sit there in the close-up again. Now, we've only seen him in the close-up like this before, but now it's both of them. And we watch their faces go through various stages. They're smiling, they're frowning. They're smiling, they're frowning. And it's them processing, like, yes, I love this person, but they did this thing. Or what about this? Or what are we going to do now? Like, yes, I have this person, but I have no money, I have no job, I have no life. She's like, I just said I do. I just kissed my husband. I'm married, right? I don't know. I'm not legally married, so I actually don't know how the process works, but...
You're already married. You go and get your marriage license before you go to the wedding.
So she's married when she leaves the guy. So now you got to deal with that. There's all sorts of things, like...
I don't feel like he loved her. I feel like he wanted...
does.
What he couldn't have, and then he's just trying to have that, and then he gets it, and now
I would agree with that if it wasn't the scene where he takes her to the strip club, which is one of the meanest things in this movie, right? Like, he's clearly trying to be a jerk, and she is so uncomfortable, and then the stripper doesn't realize what's going on, and she's, like, twirling the little tassels on the girl's head, basically, and the single tear rolls down her face. I love that performance from her, and that's when he stops being a jerk. He realizes he's gone too far. He tries to rectify it. She doesn't want anything to do with him, although she stays with him, which is that's one of the catches. Like, I think any other woman would have just kept walking, and she stops and lets him.
And bitch, don't call me.
Yeah, but he convinces her to they go get a burger, and then he clearly starts falling for her right there. He's talking to her. He's seeing her as, I think, an equal, which I think is one of the problems. Like, I don't necessarily think he thinks he's better than everyone, but I think he thinks he's different than everyone. Like, you know, he doesn't have the same point of view as other people. He doesn't seem to be passionate about anything. Like, he was on all those different, you know, programs and stuff. You hear his mom reading, like, his yearbook stats at the party, which was super embarrassing. But, you know, he didn't seem like, it's not like he's in love with any of those things. It was almost like he was just going through the motions. And I think Elaine's the first person he connects with. Now, that connection might not be love, but he thinks it's love. It's the first thing he cares about. Whether or not it's what we call love or whatever, I do think that's genuine. But I think the end of the movie is meant to be ambiguous, where you don't know, are they going to live happily ever after? Or is it as doomed as everything else? Is he going to ruin this too? I think that's up for interpretation, and I think that heavily influences your opinion of the film, is like how you take that last sequence, because I take it as them realizing that they've done something stupid, and I've had other people say they're super optimistic and like, oh, they can't wait to start their lives together, and there's
that they don't look at ease. I don't know, you know, I don't.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what, and I hope there's no answer. I hope it is up to us to decide what we believe. I do like the movie. I don't know that it holds up as well. I definitely think, like, as a film, I think it's something worth studying. I think there's a lot of really great cinematic techniques in this movie. I think the camera work is fantastic. The score fits the tone really well, but at the same time, I used to like a lot of these Simon and Garfunkel songs, but I'm not sure I like any of them by them. Like, I like a lot of the covers of those songs more so than I like their songs. They're just so, like, it's so depressing to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, that's the tone this movie's going for, though, right? Like The Sound of Silence is definitely a depressing song, and Disturbed's version is very dark, too, but I don't know. I think I like that version a little more to listen to. And Miss Robinson, I feel like the version in Wayne's World is more upbeat than the version in this movie.
Well, is that the version by the Lemonheads?
It might be, and then that would explain it. Which is
such a good cover.
Yeah.
Agreed. I don't know. I have a hard time getting into, like, the folky music sometimes anyways.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But, yeah, I like the movie. I would say, do you have anything else you want to point out or talk about? Okay. Usually I'm gonna say the rating, and then you're gonna have like a 10
and then be like, oh my god.
All right, I'm gonna go Not Quite Golden Pony Boy for myself.
A decent watch.
Understandable. I do think, though, cinematically, I do think this movie's outstanding, and I would say it's a must see if you're wanting to be a filmmaker. You want to understand like how to tell a story visually or how to frame shots. I think there's a lot you can pull from this movie, but the story, you know, it's not for everybody, and I don't know. It's definitely relatable in some ways, because like not knowing what you want to do with your life is a stressful.
Oh my god, me every day. I still don't know, and I'm awkward. And some of those scenes, I just totally got it. Like, I don't want to come out and show all of your friends my scuba diving gear.
Yeah, that was really weird. Although like, I love that shot. I love the shot through the mask. And
then pushing him into the water, and then he's like looking up, I think, at his parents.
Mm-hmm. And then pushing him under the water, like, stay down.
Yeah, I totally get being that kind of person. I don't know.
Well, and there's the montage, like, when he's in, like, the middle of, the affair, and it's like kind of showing him like lounging at the pool, then lounging at the hotel room, and it's still, he never looks happy. He's doing all these things and never looks happy. I love some of the transitions and the edits they do in that montage. I like a lot.
He's having an affair with a woman, and then he's afraid that he's worried that they can't talk. What did you think this was about, boy? Like,
but he's looking for a connection. He's looking for something more, and he's not getting it from her. And he gets it from Elaine, and that's, you know, I think a key part of that romance element of this movie. And there are some funny scenes. There's a few parts where I laugh, more or less out of like shock or whatever. But you know, and I do think Dustin Hoffman is fantastic. He's become one of my favorite actors. I can't wait to watch Midnight Cowboy.
Me neither.
But next week we're watching Y Tu Mama Tambien. Do you know anything about this movie, Corey?
Doesn't it? Oh, geez, I'm forgetting the name of the actor. Wasn't he just in Milk?
Oh, yes, he is. Diego Luna.
Thank you.
And Gael Garcia Bernal, who was in Coco, is in this as well. And it's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who I am a big fan of. He's directed Gravity and Children of Men, and my favorite Harry Potter movie, The Prisoner of Azkaban. And it's listed as a coming-of-age story, which is why I picked it. I bought this at the Antique Mall for $2 a few weeks ago.
Hold on.
On DVD. So.
In Winter Haven?
Lake Wales. No, sorry. Lakeland.
Are you talking about the flea market?
No, the Antique Mall. It's outside of the Lakeland Mall. It's called the Antique Mall. It is essentially a flea market, but it's in one giant building. And
You'll need to take me.
It's a bunch of lots of people's stuff. Some of it is antiques for real, and others are very much like a flea market. There's just nobody working at the booths. So, like, you go to the booth, and, like, everything's numbered, and the people at the register, you go to the register, and it's kind of more like a consignment shop, I guess, in that way. But I don't think, like, I think you have to go and set up your section, and then everything is labeled with a certain, like, bin number, so that when you pay at the register, the right people get the money for it, or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a chain of some kind, though. But my wife found it a few months ago. I mean, it's been right there, but we finally went into it. And now it's become like a monthly tradition where we'll go and kind of scour. And I found some good movie deals there, and I found some good collectible stuff. They have a lot of cool Star Wars collectible stuff there. My Ghostbusters pop vinyl that I got for Father's Day, it's the Gatekeeper, Zool, and the Keymaster pop vinyl triple pack, was at the Antique Mall. So
dang.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I that's where I got Y Tu Mama Tambien. I know it's available to stream, but I don't know if it's available for free to stream. So check that out if you want. You can email us your thoughts on either The Graduate or Y Tu Mama Tambien or your favorite coming-of-age movies at contact@burkreviews.com. That is contact@burkreviews.com. And Corey, where can they find you on the internet?
At Corey R-Star, 2 R's on the end.
And I am at Burke Reviews, and that's on, of course, Twitter, Instagram, and even Letterboxd. Read my reviews at burkreviews.com, and every once in a while Corey will write something, or David, or somebody else, maybe Big Tuna will have a post up on the site. So until next time, keep watching movies. This has been a Burke Reviews podcast. burkreviews.com.